Good evening. Hi, good evening. Thank all of you for joining today's session. And I'm Gajalakshmi, and I'll be your host for this evening. On behalf of IABA Australia, I take great pleasure in extending a very warm welcome to all of you for the BA and Product Owner Partnership event. Without further ado, we'll move into the event. Acknowledgement of the country. IABA chapter acknowledges the, sorry. The IABA chapter acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and extend our respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people present with us today. Request all of you to know that this session is being recorded, and by continuing to be in this meeting, you're consenting for this meeting to be recorded and published on IABA platforms. Request all of you to kindly be on mute throughout the presentation, and the slides that are shared during this presentation will be emailed to you after the session. This is a quick agenda of today's event. We'll have a quick introduction for 5 minutes, followed by a presentation by Charlotte Bien and the QA time. And finally, we'll have the wrap up by the Melbourne team. Before we move on, a few branch updates. This year, we are going to have a blend of online and face-to-face events and also study groups. Key events that have been planned for this year, starting from next month on the 8th of July, is Mindful Stakeholder Engagement. After that, in August, we have Achieve Better Outcomes by Understanding People. We also have a number of study groups that will run throughout the year, basically for BABOK, for business data analytics and cybersecurity. We also have an initiative for online and face-to-face mentoring. And the most important event for this year will be the Business Analysis Festival, which is slated for 18th to 23rd October 2021. This will be a combination of online conferences for about a week and 1 day of face-to-face event hosted by respective branches across Australia. And we'll also have event surveys being sent out for expression of interest for new volunteers, facilitators, and newsletter subscriptions. Looking forward to hear from you on feedback and interests. Now, the most important part, introducing today's speaker, Charlotte Bien. Charlotte is a product evangelist. She's a system thinker and a community leader. She has a passion for all things that's product and technology, and has led impactful initiatives on building scalable products and organizations across a variety of industries. And now she's a part of a fintech startup for the past 9 years. Apart from a product manager role, she's also the co-founder of a popular Australian podcast, Tinting and Carcass. A pragmatic, collaborative, and people-first approach has not only made her an effective product leader, but also a well-loved and effective servant leader within the organization and the communities. In her spare time, she has also documented her life and opinion through regular podcasting, community events, and blogs. Today, we welcome Charlotte Bien and thank you for being a part of today's event. She's going to share her experience and observation on different roles within the product space, and also the difference of skill set for each of these roles and how they work together within the same organization. If you have to reach out to Charlotte, please reach out to her through her podcast, her Medium blog, or on LinkedIn. Welcome, Charlotte, and without further ado, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. I just make a quick correction about the bio there. I haven't worked for the fintech for 9 years. 9 years is my overall experience in my with every single role that I've been with. So so that's saved my age as well. So I'm definitely younger than working in one place.
Sorry for that, Charlotte. Yes, great. Over to you. Thank you.
No worries at all. Thank you so much for the introduction. It's absolutely precious here to have so many business analysts in one room to talking about this really exciting conversation. So as I mentioned, this is a really, personally, this is a really interesting topic to me as well. So I definitely wanted to hear, I will share about my experience, but definitely want to hear about your experience as well. Can you actually see the slides right now?
Yes, Charlotte, we can see the slides.
Yes.
All right. So just to confirm, you are seeing the presentation slides instead of the notes for my desktop. Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Yes, all good.
That's
Cool.
correct, Charlotte.
Thank you very much. All right, so I will skip through my introduction because I feel like I won't be able to do this better than what Gaja actually do about introducing myself. But I guess it's probably worthwhile to mention that I actually started my career as a business analyst, and I spent, as I mentioned, the past 9 years working as a business analyst and the product managers. I guess I got the different thing for me is I do get the chance to working, I guess 50% of my time working internally for the company that as the product managers or business analysts and product owners in the capacity, but also have another 50% is working as a consultant and coaches to really helping organization to bringing in agile and product way of thinking there. And I guess that's where I get most of my product certification from. So I am Agile Product Owner certified by Scrum Alliance at Scrum.org. And I'm also a IC Agile certified Agile Product Owner trainer as well. So in my last 2 years, I did spend more time trying to master my craft in the product management space. So that's why I'm working in the fintech and then also in the travel insurance space for a little bit in the product management capacity. I also have my own product now as well, which one is a podcast really for providing Asian millennial in Australia away from home. So if there's any Asian millennials in this group there, feel free to go to any of the platform to try to listen to our podcast and give me some feedback there as well. And then I also have another product which is about to launch next month. So without further ado about my experience, I think I will move straight to the presentation as well. So what we'll do in this talk, we are actually going to start with a quick exercise, which is also a good opportunity for us to review a little bit about the different role between the business analyst, product owner, and product managers. As a lot of you probably see initial talk when we promote these, I guess, events, we're talking about a partnership between business analyst and product owner. And in my concept for a very long time, I see product manager and product owner as two very, very similar roles. I basically see them as equal to each other. However, as I mentioned at the beginning as well, with the latest blog, I guess, about Marty Kagan, one of the key points he actually mentioned about that view is, yes, product owners, there is part of the role of the product manager, including the product owner, but there's actually more in that. So that's why I share the link in the chat there as well. So that's why I said, well, maybe it's safe for me just to bring these three roles out and just talking about them separately, just for the purpose for the presentation and discussion today. And then we will go straight to the meat in the pie, talking about why this partnership is so important. And later, I'm going to give some advice based on my personal experience about how can we actually forming a strong partnership among these roles as well. So definitely make sure I will leave some time at the end for some Q&A, because I'm really curious about what's your experience in that space as well. All right, so now let's start again. So what I did is I actually went to LinkedIn last week and find out 5 different job descriptions. And I marked, of course, I hide their job titles, but what I wanted to invite all of you guys to do is based on what you can see on the screen. You don't need to go to all the details in the job description, just scan through, maybe using 30 seconds to scan through and take a guess if this is a role for business analysts, product owner, or product managers. So what Gaja were helping us to do is she will actually put a poll through Zoom on the screen. So you actually will be able to put in your guesses there. So let's see how much we can actually guess it right there as well. So I'm going to go through is there any question regarding to the games before we actually move on to see the job descriptions about how to play this game?
Charlotte, quickly, Shri here.
All good.
We can you hear me, Charlotte? So we'll just go to our poll for the quiz. Do you want to do a quick pulse as to who might be in the room in terms of what roles we have? Are you interested in doing poll number 1?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay.
Of course. Maybe before we start and going through the games, let's maybe do a quick poll now, just to understanding a little bit who in at the moment, what's everyone's role in the room as well before we actually move on.
So the poll has launched.
Yeah.
And it's quickly moving up. So I will just give it a few seconds, Charlotte. So everybody, if you could please select an answer that is closest. We don't have all the roles, but just go with what is the closest in terms of what do you do majority of times in your role. Okay, so I'm just going to close the poll.
Wow, we actually have some product managers and in the room as well, and there's some others. I would be interested to know what are the other roles apart from business analyst and the product owner, product manager in the room.
I'm very keen as well. So if you could drop in the chat, that would be good, guys. In those who are in the other category, put in your job description. So I'm just going to end the poll now in the interest of time. Okay, and sharing the results. So we have 78% BAs and a few in the product owner, proxy product owner, product manager categories. And then we have 11% other.
Executive manager.
Wow.
Wow, excellent.
Welcome. What makes you want to join the talk? Can I ask?
You can drop it in the chat. I'm going to launch poll number 2, Charlotte, in the interest of time. So we want to bring up your descriptions, job descriptions, please.
Yeah. So I will time box each of them for 30 seconds just to make sure we are we keep on time.
Yeah. And Charlotte, can you explain just once again for people who have joined late what they have to do?
Yeah, sure. So have a look at the job description currently on the screen. You don't have to go to every single role. Just have a quick scan about a key role and take a guess if this is the product. Is this a business analyst?
I cannot see the job descriptions because the poll is in the way. It's in front of it.
Oh, the
Poll
okay.
number 2 is showing over the top of the job descriptions.
Oh,
Can just move
in that case,
You
Just
should be
drag
able
it.
to drag it
Just
away
drag
from
it.
the screen.
Yeah, it is away from the screen. How is this now, guys?
Thank you. That's good.
Is it? Yeah.
cool. This is 30 seconds, but I guess we might need a few more seconds. I may give another 15.
It's like rapid fire, so we can just quickly switch and just make a guess. So I'm just going to go and do next, and then.
All right, so I give the answer here already. So if you guess it wrong, but it's too late, so I assume we already go to the next questions. This is a business analyst role. All right, this is the second JD, and I'm putting another 30 seconds here. $15 seconds left. Cool. 2 seconds, 1 second, done. All right. This is the PM's role. And we have no one gets it right for this one. Okay, let's the next one, JD3.
All of the questions are all in one that you've got to submit them all.
Cyril?
So poll 2 has 5 questions, which only has 1 submit at the end.
That's right. So there are 5 subsections on the same question. So if you answer those, if you choose and then you click next, lets you go for the 5 questions. You can answer the 5 questions if you click next. And the
I
final
don't
one
have
is
next.
have you
I only have
selected?
submit.
Yeah.
So if I
you
submit,
can submit it. That means you have answered everything.
oh, I haven't answered everything.
Yeah,
Because I don't have
same here. There are all 5 questions. You have to answer all 5 and then
all 5 to submit.
Yeah.
Same here for me as well. Yeah, I think Charlotte, you shouldn't be giving us answers.
Give us the
Now,
answers.
maybe when we answer all of them, that's when you should be giving us answers, because we can still change it here and then
Oh,
submit.
really? You can?
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
all five have to be answered before we can submit
Exactly.
poll 2.
Yeah, so don't give us
I believe
answers.
I will be able to see the result actually before you actually submit it here as well on the screen. So that's the honesty rule, I guess. So if you already move on to the next slides, you know you are wrong. Don't change the answer because there's no punishment or there's no reward for getting it wrong. We're just doing a clarity. So,
we are all honest BAs and product managers, the honest audiences today, so we won't do anything. So let's go to the next. What's the answer for the third one, Charlotte?
it's a PO.
PO. Okay, 50%. So we have 50%. The fourth one. I think this may be right. Fourth one. Okay, the answer?
BA.
Perfect.
We actually have 57% of people guessing right. That's good. Okay, last but not least, this is the last one. Let's see how we go.
People have guessed it even before we.
Yeah, I know.
But you can change it, so that's okay. So the numbers are
The
changing.
number is changing a lot at the moment.
Okay. What's the answer?
It's the product owner. So I guess, well, most people thinking that's the product managers. So I think let's share the result with everyone about how we go.
Yes. Can everybody see? So we have the BI, the first one.
Yeah.
Product
I
owner.
think we did it right. First one, it is first one is a BA, yes. Second one is a PM.
Okay. So
Second one, I think most people actually go for the PO, which is cool. Third one is PO. Okay, the team get it right. Fourth one is BA. Okay, I definitely see this number change after the result. I do see this number change after the result. Before it was not business analyst. The ratio is not that high. And last one is PO as well. Well, we guess it right, but just slightly right.
slightly. Yeah, marginally. Okay,
All right.
excellent. Very nice exercise. I'm just going to stop sharing now.
Cool.
Over to you, Charlotte.
Cool. So what did you guys learn from this experience? How did you find about this job description? By the way, these are actually live JD at the moment. This is actually company are actually hiring for this role at the moment. I literally just found freshly from the LinkedIn as well. There's a lot of updated profile JD.
So
So
lots
this
of
is what I-
overlaps, Charlotte. Yeah,
sorry, Shin.
lots of overlaps.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of overlaps.
Yeah, exactly. This is something, it's really confusing, especially in different organizations. They define each of the role very differently. You can see in some organization, I think it's the first one, is a business analyst role. However, if that exact JD, if you're putting in another organization, they could 100% be a product manager or product owner's role there. And so that's why I actually wanted to spend some time talking a little bit about the overlap between all of these 3 roles as well, because I believe the answer about why it's important for these 3 roles to collaborate together is also lying underneath here. It's because of overlap. A lot of it is because of overlap we actually have around them as well. So I guess now I'm going to refer all these 3 roles, product manager, product owners, and business analysts. Let's all referring us as a product people. So what there are 3 key overlap and characters, I guess, about the product people. So first, we are all value driven. So later on, we'll go to a little bit deeper about what this actually means. And then the second one is talking about the bridge. This is very interesting because when I initially became a business analyst, that's essentially how people explain to me the word of bridge being using a lot, talking about how business analyst is really a bridge between business and IT. So maybe, and then when I become the product owner, later on become the product managers, and the bridge also being used a lot. So maybe we can talk a little bit about what are we actually bridging for? Is that simply because between the business and IT, or there's something else we are bridging for? And the last one is really, well, it's kind of obvious, but I want to point out is we are all under these product umbrellas. We are all product focused. Of course, we'll go to more details about what does it actually mean? What does product even means? What's product focus actually means here as well. So for the first one, for the value driven, so I decided to actually have a look at the job descriptions. I guess not only a job description, I guess the definition about each of the role to talking about here. So of course, the place that we can find the definition of the business analyst, of course, is IBA. So I went to IBA website trying to find out what is business analyst. So this is the first result come out, talking about business analysts identify and define the solutions that will maximize the value delivered by an organization to its stakeholders. And I really like about this definition, by the way, and also talking about the business analysts, the variety of the business analysts as well. They really can working across the different level of the organizations and can be involved in defining strategy, creating like enterprise architects, and also talking about a lot of improvement in the technology and process side. So that's actually a really good definition about the business analyst here. And when I'm trying to find about the Scrum product or product owner role, I went to the Scrum guide. That's really because the role of the product owner is really become popular and really been created because of Scrum. And so that's why I feel like that's probably the most appropriate place to actually find out what is actually a definition about the product owner. So the definition basically being described in the Scrum guide, talking about product owner is accountable for maximizing the value of the product resulting from the work of the Scrum team. And of course, there's also some description about product owner is also accountable for effective product backlog management as well. So I feel like you guys might know where I'm going for. So the last part of of course, I'm trying to find out what is actually product manager actually do. It's quite difficult to actually find this definition. So this is actually a paraphrase definition by Marty Kagan from his book Inspire. It's not exact words, but it's definitely a paraphrase words he actually been using to describe a product manager's role. So with a primary goal to deliver business value, product managers are responsible to create products that are valuable, feasible, and usable. So I wanted to pause a moment, get you to think a little bit about what are the common words in all these three definitions here. I'm sure you figure out because I highlighted in orange as well. It's the word value. So all these three different roles talking about the value. And I guess the question that we probably wanted to dig a little bit deeper here is really, what is this value really means? What value we're talking about? Because it's such a vague word. What does it really mean? So this is my interpretation of that. So especially for the role of the business analyst, I don't know how many of you actually know about the history about the business analyst, how this role actually been created. So when it was created, it was actually in 1930, and the role was really being created under the technology to helping the business to understanding about the system, understanding about the technology side. So business analyst initially was more like a system analyst, and later on they evolved to become from business side to helping fulfill the business stakeholders' needs. So that's what business needs, and like maximize the business value or financial value is always sounds like front and center about a lot of these roles. When we're talking about the value side, and that's quite like I guess obvious and apparent for a lot of the organization as well. When we're talking about value, thinking about business value, stakeholder value, and financial value. And with all the recent change now from talking to become a product-led organization to become with all the influence of design thinking, job to be done framework coming in, starting talking a bit more and more about the customer value, about what problem and job we're trying to fulfill for our customer. That's when the value of a customer becomes something front and center, becomes something more and more important. We'll talk about day to day as well. So in most of the organization, when we're talking about regarding which role you're talking about, we're talking about maximizing the value. A lot of times it's really a combination between the business value and customer value. However, I also starting to see the trends that we're starting talking more and more about a social value about a particular product. When we're building a product, we not only start thinking about what customer needs we're actually solving for, what like financial value we're actually bringing to our business. We'll also start thinking about, is this actually going to good for the world? Is it actually good for the society? And I start to see this actually conversation more and more now as well. Even now, there's no official framework, anything talking about it like yet in our DVF, like the traditional prioritization world, about the desirability, viability, and feasibility. We don't talk about this, like we don't have a sociability yet, but this is definitely a trend I start to see more and more now for as a product person started thinking about it, won't make any decisions. And next things we're talking about is bridge. So what we're actually bridging for. So I don't know how many of you actually know about Esther Derby. So she's kind of like my idol. I have been following her blog for a very long time. So I attend her keynotes in the 2015 in Agile Australia. So these words, when she was trying to describing about the leadership at all different levels and what's actually the role of the leaders. So when she described these particular quote, really stick to me. She was talking about the biggest gap in the organization is really the gap between the contextual knowledge and frontline knowledge, and just like separation of the heads and from hand. I know the first time you hear about it, you'll be like, what is she talking about? It can be quite confusing, so it's okay. We'll break it down a little bit for you. So in this particular context, basically what she's talking about is in every single organization, there's two types of knowledge. There's a contextual knowledge. A lot of these are being holding by the small group of people that can be likely going to be a senior leadership, and basically holding some of the example as a contextual knowledge here can mean strategic directions, some of the information about market trends, overall company vision, strategy, 5 years roadmap. A lot of these what we call them a contextual knowledge. And then there's also a lot of the other type of knowledge within the organization is called frontline knowledge, which is the knowledge that's sitting with the people who are actually doing the work, who are the working on front line with the customer. It can be customer support person, can be the engineer, can be the people, anyone who is basically a doer in a situation, deliverer. So based on her research, very unfortunately, most of the organization, there is overlap between these two layers of the knowledge, but the overlap is actually really, really small. But because of that, because of the overlap, the separation between these two knowledge, that lead to a problem. Just like your head is thinking about something, your CEO is going out talking about his five years vision about what company wanting to do, but your hands is actually operating something totally different, because the language that you are talking about is very different. Your understanding about where the organization are, the knowledge is very, very different from what is the contextual knowledge actually your head want you to do. So that's causing sometimes the separation between the head and the hands in a situation. So what does it mean for us here? So how does it relevant to us? So that means regarding of, at least in my opinion, regarding to what title you are, if you're a product owner, product manager, or business analyst, regarding what role you are, really a lot of this role is really designed to reduce the gap between these two knowledge gap, which is, I call them like strategic directions from the top, the contextual knowledge there, to the execution capabilities, really trying to bring in these together to make your head and hands to be more coherent. Now I'm going to move on to the third commonality of all these three roles is we all like Venn diagram. This is actually a joke. This is actually not the actual commonality, even that's the truth. So the next one actually I'm talking about is we are actually all product focused people. So now I'm going to, if you ask people about what it's actually product means, and then if you Google that, even you Google that, you're going to find many different, I guess, definition around that. People will tell you it's a way of thinking and both and doing, and they'll tell you about different things. So this is my definition about what product is. I try to simplify using a diagram. Again, there's some of my, I put a society, like society view there. Can cause a little bit confusion. You feel free to take them out. So basically, these are two main lenses about what product actually means for me. So one is the left side is really about the key 4 components when we're thinking about to build a product. This is like the key lens we wanted to put it on is every single product we wanted to know, do customers actually want or need these particular product or particular features? Would business actually benefit from here? And team can actually like doing this? You might see these three components like almost everywhere when people talking about prioritization criteria, people talking about product management, people talking about business analysts, talking about backlog management. We're using that a lot. That's the framework, we call it DVF framework. And I put another lens here. I know, like as I mentioned, this is something I truly believe in. It's not necessarily currently being put into consideration yet, which is the society. Is whatever we're building here, is that going to be good for our society? And the other side for the product here, the lenses we're talking about is really around the product vision, strategy, and execution. What does it mean? Is does this product, what does this product look like in 1 to 5 years? What's the long-term strategy for this product? And how do we actually get there? What's the strategy for us to actually get there? And the other one is how fast we can get there. What's the overall, I guess, the plan for us to actually detailed plan for us to get there? So I know in a lot of the organizations, sometimes in a lot of different framework, we're trying to allocate each of these components within each of the role. For example, this is a very typical one with the organization. They have all these 3 roles. And if you're applying the SAFe framework, if you go to the SAFe framework, they'll actually tell you the business part, you have the product manager is looking after the business part. They are accountable for the viability. They're more external facing. They will tell you, SAFe also tell you the product owner that is more looking after the customer side. And you have business analysts is like expert in the technology and the execution space. And no one looking after the ethical part at the moment, or is the CEO or the risk and compliance in looking after that part. And then you have the vision part. They're also trying to separate that. Maybe that's the truth in your organization. They may try to separate in that sense. However, in my experience, it's really actually should be the superpower for every single product role regarding to what you are. If you are a business analyst, you also expect like to be able to articulate about the needs of the customers, the needs from the business that we're trying to produce. Even maybe you will be the people to do a little bit more drive in the delivery piece. But all of this knowledge are really essential for you to actually be able to help to remember to closing the two gap, the contextual, the strategic direction, and the execution of these 2 worlds. So all of this knowledge will be super relevant to actually have to be able to do that job, to achieve that role as well. So now you might know what I'm going to is there is a lot of overlap between all these 3 roles, and these are the 3 main overlap that I see. Is that we're all value driven, and we're trying to helping the rest of the organization to do the same things with the knowledge that we have. We wanted to bridging the 2 sides of the world, from the strategic directions to the execution capability side. And we also are really product focused and try to helping the organization to build a more balanced product. So that there are a lot of overlaps. What I mean is sometimes it's really difficult to have a really clean cut between the role of the BA, PM, and BA. It's really difficult. No matter how carefully we design for this role, it's really difficult to actually slice that. And also, as you can see, this is actually a really big responsibility as well. In a lot of bigger organizations, especially when you have multiple stakeholders, when you have the information, all of these information regarding to your strategy and regarding to your frontline is distributed across the organization. It's really difficult to do all of this work by one person. You do need to have a strong partnership, you have a group of people or a team of people to actually be able to achieve that. So that's the reason why these roles, sometimes they've been slightly to become multiple roles, to become product owner, business analysts, and product managers. And that's also why they actually need to be working really seamless together. So we'll be able to provide the teams and the leadership, like the strategic side, a coherent message across the information as well. We should be the people to actually bring in the two sides instead of confusing the more about these two sides of knowledge as well. So now I'm going to go to the last part of the presentation, which is talking about understanding about why they are important to have this partnership. I'm going to give some advice about, from my experience, about how to form this partnership. Of course, I'm going to protect myself, I'm going to put a disclaimer here. All of this advice is really based on my personal experience. Please adapt them cautiously, and based on your personal and the organization situation as well. And definitely, I wanted to hear about your experience if you have different advice and different experience from that as well, because I will find it really valuable as well. So now I'm going to clear a little bit about the elephant in the room here. So in my experience, I realized not every organization have all of these three roles. So some organizations do. I think especially 5 or 6 years ago, most of the organizations that I work with, they do have these three roles. But I did see a trend now. A lot of organizations that I work with actually only have 2 of these roles. And in some organizations, especially the small type of organization that I work with, they actually only have 1 role. So I will probably go through then each of the situation and provide, I guess, slightly different advice and approach about if you are the business analyst in each of these situations, like what will you do to helping to form this partnership? So for the organization that have all these different 3 type of role, this is my experience around that. It might sound a little bit stereotype. Generally, there's a relatively big organization in this situation when they have these 3 roles, because they have the budget to do that. Potentially, likely, they are adopting some sort of Scale Agile framework. It can be SAFe, it can be LASS, it can be other type of framework, it can be Spotify. But generally, there's some sort of Scale Agile framework being implemented. Generally, in this kind of organization, they have a little bit split between the business and the IT. This is 2 different worlds. Likely, if you are a business analyst, you are likely to be under the IT as well. And I put that as an optional. It's just in my experience in this situation, a lot of time it's a little bit feature factory symptom instead of empower product team. If you want to know the difference between that, Marty Kagan's new book and his blog will be a really good place to read about it. And then in my experience, generally in this organization, they generally have a little bit of the heads and hands separation situation. That's the reason why they wanted to have these 3 roles, to really make sure there's a close alignment between the strategic directions and the execution there. So if you are the business analyst in these situations, this will be the, I guess, likely the landscape you are operating at. Again, this is just my guess. As I mentioned, you might have a business product manager actually really being accountable for driving the visions and strategy and identify more external facing, doing industry and market research there. As a business analyst, you are more likely to be a SME, delivery expert, and internal bridge. We'll go through that a little bit more details in the next slides as well. And then you have a product owner there, product owner really being responsible to managing the backlog, delivery, the vision and strategy, and also accountable for all the prioritization as well. So in these situations, if you're a business analyst, I would strongly recommend you to spend some sufficient time to really be the subject matter expert in regarding to the systems that you're looking after, in regarding to the process and any sort of technology solutions, because all your stakeholder will be really leaning on you to get these level of details regarding to the technology and the system there. And a lot of these situations, I also say the business analyst in this situation, you probably also need to be a delivery expert. If you have a Scrum Master in this environment in the team, you and the Scrum Master need to be a really close partner as well. So you need to really helping the Scrum Master to remove any of the blocker, helping the team with the delivery, because in this sense, you are very likely to be the product owner or product manager will tap on your shoulder to actually asking about the delivery as well. And a lot of time, if you are operating in the environment, you don't have a Scrum Master and delivery lead. A lot of time, you and the product owner essentially were sharing this responsibility, almost like a proxy Scrum Master and delivery lead in this situation as well. the other advice I think I will give is a lot of in my previous role, I also see a lot of time the business analyst, because they're so busy in this role, there's so many details regarding to system process you pay attention to, you leave all the stakeholder management part to the product owner and product manager. However, if you really wanted to, I guess, get the work done and also be able to move up the rank, you also need to build, it's really, really important for you to build stronger relationship with the business stakeholder yourself. So you actually need to have direct relationship with any of these internal, like you need to have direct relationship with finance, you need to have direct relationship with compliance, and you have direct relationship with sales, because in order to be the subject matter expert, there's a lot of this knowledge is not necessary in the documentation. There's a lot is actually in this relationship and in these people's heads as well. So it's really, really important for you to also build this relationship with this stakeholder. So then they will more likely the product manager and product owner or the other stakeholder will be able to get you to actually lead one project end to end, because then you have all the connection you needed to get this role done as well. And the other advice I actually give to the business analyst in this situation is also trying to, this is a really busy role. I used to be in this situation myself, and then sometimes I do realize it's really easy to lose in the details and forget about the big picture. So for all the lens we're talking about before, I realized every day the language I was talking about is all about velocity, talking about story points, talking about what's currently in progress. Every single day I was trying to trying to get my story ready in the backlog. I lost myself in the Jira, and I forget about the bigger picture about why we are solving these, who are we solving these for. I forget about all the other component of the product lens we're talking about there. So as a good business analyst, it's actually really important in this situation to actually still remain a big picture view about all the other, while you're focusing on more on the delivery and technology part, don't lose the bigger picture there as well. Last advice, I guess a lot of advice to this particular role, because I have been on this situation for the longest in my career. That's why I have a lot to say about this. This is actually because you are working in an organization that have really defined role for product manager, product owner, and business analyst. This is actually the role. The goods and bads about this role. One thing, the good news is for this role is you have the knowledge, you literally can move on to anywhere you like. You literally can go to any of these domains. I actually get this picture from the IBA. I literally feel like you are in a really good position for you. If you wanted to specialize in more technology side, you actually will be able to moving on to a more tech focus. If you want to move to the product side, you can move into the product side and business focus more, because you actually have a lot of options because of all the knowledge and then what you have. However, at the same time, this is also a role that most likely to stuck in a particular role, because it's a really busy role, and sometimes organization leadership not necessarily be able to see your value to be able to, especially to contribute some of these strategic initiative. So that's why if you are in this situation, I strongly recommend you to have really regular conversation with your managers to talking about career development, and also for you also probably wanting to proactively thinking about where is the area that you wanted to go as well, where's your passion, where's your skills land on, and trying to develop towards that direction as well, because you don't want it to always stuck in the delivery shoes and in a busy role all the time. So now this is actually the situation I started to see more and more. I almost become a trend. So I wanted to hear later on maybe about if this is your experience as well. In the last few years, I realized a lot of organizations actually only have two roles. Either they have the product manager, and business analyst, or they have product manager and product owner, or the other situation. So they normally have just two roles in the product. So I would say in this situation, if you are a business analyst in these situations, if you have a title of business analyst, you are very, very likely you are actually the product owner in this situation. At least you are the product owner, even you may have the title of the business analyst. And of course, the product manager, there's a multiple situation here. The product manager could be under IT, could be under business. It depends on organizations. And that's when the business product manager, because it's only two roles, you need to looking after all different domains that actually require a much tighter, I guess, relationship and the collaboration between product manager and business analyst directly. And in some scenario, you may have the product business analyst actually report to the product manager. So in one of my roles, I actually have a team of business analysts actually reporting to me in the situation. For that, I guess that's probably what is more likely to see what in the mapping. As you can see, business analyst in this situation, you are playing a much front and center role, actually compared to the, because you essentially you're doing the business analyst and the product owner role there. So you probably will need to have a more balanced view about all of these different components. You are managing the backlog. You are also potentially accountable for the prioritization. So you actually need to be a bit careful about what you say yes to in this situation if you're a business analyst. And then of course the product managers, and then also being identified a little bit more about driving the vision strategy. A lot of time the product manager also might be accountable for the P&L in the situation as well. So if you are the, sorry, my slides just went back. So if you are the business analyst in this situation, so you can comfortably tell to yourself, yeah, you are the product owner and pro CPO in these situations. So on top of the previous advice, you'll probably also need to be a subject matter expert in regarding to the customers, stakeholder, and technology as well. So it's not only about the system itself, you probably need to level up yourself, understanding the market, understanding your customer in this situation. And in this situation, you not only need to be a delivery expert, because there will be people tapping on your shoulder to say when this can be delivered, can I put these things in your backlog? And then how long it will, people will start to ask you more questions around your roadmap and when kind of questions. You are also the gatekeeper of your backlog in this situation as well. Everything likely is going to come through you to actually prioritize as well. So that, what does it mean? If you are a business analyst there, you really need to learn how to say no and managing the expectation carefully. That's something I find it hardest as a business analyst and product person in the last few years. I'm a pretty easygoing person. I find it really, and I wanted to say yes to every single things that people say. I wanted to like deliver everything I can, and then to the business. I find it really difficult to sometimes to push back. However, in this situation, it is your role to actually be able to like say no, and basically, but of course in a reasonable way. You can't just say no to anything come across, but that's when you need to put down your prioritizations lenses with all the aspect we're talking about before, and actually be able to say no and managing the expectation carefully here. Everything, if you say yes, that means your team potentially means you're going to burning out your teams, or if something that you promise that is going to deliver and it doesn't go online, you actually need to take accountabilities and responsibility around that as well. As I mentioned, this role really requires really seamless partnership between the product owner and yourself. You basically need to, I would really recommend spending about 40% of your time contributing to all the product manager activities. So that including something like market analysis, competitor analysis, customer interview. You need to be part of it. You can't rely on the product manager doing and handle the outcome to you. I strongly recommend you to actually be part of it, actually involved in that as well. All right, then there's the last situation, which that's what I starting to experience more as well. The second scenario is the one I think is the most common one, but I'm starting to see this scenario play out a lot, especially in a small startup environment, a small company. This scenario actually play out quite a lot. So there's two situations if you are the only one person in this role in the product. So one situation is you are actually in the scenario 1 or scenario 2. They actually have multiple cooks in the kitchen at the moment. You just didn't realize them, because with all of these model that have been happening in the market, sometimes we don't call product manager, product owner anymore. There's a lot of new terms like business owner, tribe leads, squad leads, general managers. Sometimes a lot of these people is actually, sometimes even the CEO and a co-founder. A lot of these titles, they are actually playing the role of the product manager and product owners in a sense. So you may actually in the scenario 1 and 2, you just didn't realize it. And there will be situation that you are actually the only product person in the organization, and you need to fulfill all these 3 roles together. It's quite, I guess it's quite normal in a small to medium organization. So we can go talk a little bit about what to do in that situation. So for the first situations, I guess quite basically just identify the actual power dynamic there and really clarify what your role actually fit in the organization, because it, as I mentioned, it could be the scenario of 1 or scenario 2, you're just not making it explicit. Once you identify that, make sure make this explicit and try to manage the expectation with your stakeholder and managers. You don't want to get the situation that people actually expect you to be the product owner and product manager to managing the backlog when you think yourself a business analyst looking after the delivery only. So once you actually realize what's the role you are actually in, make sure you make it really explicit and managing the expectation with everyone. And then you can refer to all the previous advice we have put in the previous as well to see where you move from here. Well, what if you are in this situation? That was me about 7 months ago. When I joined the role, I realized that I'm actually the only the person in the team that really looking after the particular initiative and as in the product manager capacity. So what do? First things, I know any of this role prioritization is important. In this role is particularly important because your time is really, really limited. And you basically need to be able to balance. You need to have a much balanced view of all of the 2 lenses we were talking about before. You need to have them all the time. You literally need to be able to zoom in and zoom out, be able to see the strategy, be able to talking about the vision, be able to talking about the execution anytime you want it. So if you are the business analyst or regarding to in this situation, the title probably doesn't really important that much. If you are the product person, solo product person in this situation, one really important thing for you to learn here is learning about empowerment and delegate, because you don't want yourself to be the only person to be delivering communications about all of these lenses. You need help in this situation. So I know in delegations and some of this empowerment not necessarily come natural with a lot of us as well. It does need skill uplifting and support to get better at this, at least starting to learn about how to do this, identify what are the things that the particular tasks that you potentially can delegate to the other people. How will you be able to provide transparency and maybe about the visions, about the roadmap to empower the rest of the team to actually communicate some of these to the rest of the organization for you instead of to have everything land on you. And so I think one way to do that is really communicate your vision strategy clearly and constantly. So because essentially before you might have 3 different roles trying to bring in the 2 diamond, the contextual knowledge and the frontline knowledge together. Now essentially it's you. But the good news is in this situation, it might be smaller organization that may actually have a little bit more overlap already. But it's really your role to trying to make sure these 2 worlds actually link and connect. And also trying to manage the expectation as well, because it is a really busy role. So if there's anything that couldn't deliver, anything that you need support, you need to manage an expectation early on, because there's only one of you need to looking after all aspects, trying to ask for support and prevent burnout as well. I guess we're actually close to the end. This is basically all the key contents of a presentation. So now I do have a 3 summarized page about the key takeaway for today, and then I can hand it out for some questions as well. So bear with me. So the first takeaway, I think hopefully what you get from today is really about there's really heavy overlap among all these 3 roles. And this is because, so that's the reason why we really need to have a really strong partnership among these 3 roles, because all of these 3 roles all have these components around value-driven, about bringing 2 worlds together, about being the product focused and building a more balanced product. So it's really difficult to have a clean cut about all of these roles. So regarding what your title is, it's really important for you to remain these 3, I guess, common attribute for this product role. And the last takeaway is really about trying to identify the approach that is right for you. To form this strong partnership, it's really important to form this partnership. But when you are in different scenario, you might want to apply a very different approach as well. Be aware about what scenario you are in, and then try to create approach that works for that. That's it. This is my end of my presentation. I did have some recommendation and reference at the end. Welcome to read them as well. Also put some evolution about the role about the business analyst, product owner, and product managers in the appendix. So I'm happy to share these slides afterwards, so you guys can have a read.
Okay,
My
so
hand
okay,
over.
so thank you, Charlotte, for sharing so much insights and advice here. So it's question time. So please feel free to type your questions in our chat box. Maybe we start from, I see there are some questions from Sally Ann. She asked, are the product owner and the product manager roles applicable to development of the business case and or strategic planning? What do you think, Charlotte?
Can I see the question? Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
Are the product owner and the product manager roles applicable to development of the business case and strategic planning?
Are you mentioning if you are product owner, now you're in the product manager, do you need to provide all of these like business case, these sort of documents? Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends. It really depends on the organizations. However, I do thinking developing business case, writing go-to-market, and the product writing like a PRD. It is a really helpful skills. They are like tools. It's the good things to keep under your tool belts. When needed, it's good to just put it out to actually provide. But I do see in the organization that I work for, the need to actually developing them, it's actually, you don't need to develop them that often, especially in the agile organization. Sometimes you have a much lightweight version of that. You might be using something like business model canvas, link canvas, or user stories, much lightweight to do that. But I do find it, regarding if you're a business analyst, product owner, and product managers, if you have those skills and have some of those templates ready, it's quite helpful skills as well.
Yeah, thank you. And we have another question from Max Roy. The question is, does the BAs have bottom line responsibility like the product owner? What do you think?
Well, that's a good question. I to be honest, I actually, I'm not sure. I think that if there is one, there will be the bridge one, because that's how I've been sold initially to become a business analyst. When I was in the uni, I studied business information system, and when we're talking about what's the role, what's actually the value business analyst actually bringing to the organizations, and my professor basically said, well, it's really about the bridge between business and technology. And now, of course, being a bridge, in this context that we mentioned, is actually much wider. It's also about bringing the customers to the organization, bringing the market to the organization. There's a lot of other knowledge you want to bring. But if you say what will be the baseline for that, I think that will be quite important. Being a bridge will be a very important part of the baseline, I would say.
I believe.
What do other people think? Is there any other answer?
I believe it's also depends on how they define the responsibility of each role.
100%.
And maybe we start from next question from Mina. I'm not sure if I pronounced it correctly. And the question is, I'm a business analyst in the situation number 2. So how do I ensure I'm not tapping onto my product manager's shoes when we work on the same development with product focus?
good question. Okay, so first of all, it really depends on your product manager's personality and the responsibility there as well. But at the end of the day, it can depends on the person as well. However, in my experience, because that product manager is also a person, and that person is always, in my experience, product manager is always really, really, really busy. They always wanted to get some help in what they are doing. So if you communicate often, and if you offer your help to actually make your role and the product manager's role, I guess, explicit, I know the role will evolve and change eventually, but high level define a little bit about what each of the role, what each other's responsibility is. And then also you put your hands up to say, product manager, I see you are really, really busy. How can I help you with some of this activity? And trying to partner on this activity, do this activity together to make, instead to make PM to feel like you are stepping on my shoe to doing my role. It's more about, can we actually do some of this role together, because we have limited amount of time, or if you want, I can actually take some of this responsibility from you to actually do that. A lot of PM will find it really, really grateful if you ask them that question, in my experience as well.
I think that makes sense for everyone. And maybe we have another question. What are the underlying competencies for a good product owner, and what skills of business analysis are transferable to a product owner or product manager?
Oh, well, the second question is easier because it's just so much, almost everything business analyst skills can transfer straight to the product owner's role. But if you say what is the other competency for the product owner, to be very honest, in my experience, the hardest one, the most important one, is the ability to say no. So, and in the way that you don't piss other people off and manage relationship and say no. Because the moment when you have a title of a product owner and product manager, that's where you are become a gatekeeper. Everyone will try to knock on your door and try to tell you how important what they wanted to build is the most important things. And sometimes it's really difficult. I know it's really easy to say, well, we can just say no if they are not valuable. And then we develop all of these framework and trying to lie to ourselves. This is really easy to do. However, what if this person sometimes is the founder or is the CEO of a company? They come up with this idea. And in my experience, that happened. The founder go to a conference and thinking about, this is a really good idea. We should really have the chatbot. Let's implement this chatbot tomorrow. And I already signed this contract with this company. And what do? In your like the vision, looking at a roadmap, you don't have any capacity. Your team doesn't have capacity, and let's not align with your overall like a vision you're trying to go. How do you say no in a situation? So I do thinking it's important. That come in practice. That come in a lot of I guess some mentorship will help. And also I also trying to attend some of these negotiations. I attend some of these negotiation class for myself because I know this is a weakness I have. And then I always asking other senior product person in the organization to say, well, what do I do in these situations? How do I say no in a way that I still maintain a good relationship? So yeah, so I think that's one of the key competency for product owners. And it's actually quite hard to build. There's a lot of things under that as well.
Yes, I believe we all have that difficulties. We are still learning. And I'm sorry, guys, we're running out of time. So maybe I will transfer all those questions to Charlotte and to see how we can answer all of those about those questions. And maybe we need to wrap up today's session.
Thanks, Eva. I'll quickly take over and wrap up. Thanks, Charlotte, for your lovely presentation. Before everyone goes, I've got a link in the chat window for you all to please just click on it and give us your one most important takeaway from today's session. So I'm just going to share my screen so everyone can see what others are writing. If you all can just take a couple of minutes and then we'll quickly wrap up. We have over time, so I appreciate everyone being here. And while everyone's putting their thoughts in, I really wanted to thank you, Charlotte, for your very insightful presentation. And I'm sure it'll go a long way in broadening the awareness of people and the value of having these three distinct roles in their companies. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for turning up as well. I definitely feel the honor. Yeah, if you want to keep in contact and wanted to have more discussion around that, yeah, feel free to hit me up on the linking, and then would like to hear about your experience in this area as well. We're both learning as well.
Of course. So yeah, feel free to participate in the poll and drop off if you want. So, and thank you very much for everyone for coming to this event. And I saw that the number of participants at one stage was 134. So that's phenomenal. I think a lot of the credit should go to the topic and the speakers. They both were fantastic. Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Charlotte.
No problem. Thank you so much. Should I stay a little bit, or should I also, can I drop out as well?
You're welcome to stay. It's up to you, Charlotte.
If you wanted to do a quick debrief or give me some feedback, I would love to stay a little bit. Otherwise, I might go to cook dinner.
No worries.
Arvind, have you taken the screenshot?
Oh, no, I haven't. No, I haven't yet. So I'm going to stop sharing. If you all can please come on screen, if you can turn on your camera, I would like to take a quick screenshot of everyone on screen, please. And that will be, give me 1 second. All right. A few more cameras if possible. Fantastic. All right. Give me 1 second. Awesome. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Arvind. Thank you.
Thank you.